Hello, I'm Phoenix City Council Member Carlos Garcia with District 8. We will never replace in-person teaching, but during these trying times, our children still need to continue to learn. The City of Phoenix is proud to partner with both the Osborn and Roosevelt School Districts to bring you PHXTV Classroom Study Hall. Youth and education is a priority for Phoenix. That's why the city is bringing you the study hall to your home during this next hour right here on Phoenix TV. Learning should never stop, so get ready for class. Here's the study hall.
Hello, and welcome back to another lesson of social emotional learning. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Mr. Boyd. I work at Kindlon Elementary School in the Osborn School District. Over the last 3 weeks, we've learned about different aspects of social emotional learning. So we're going to do a quick recap before we get into today's lesson. Throughout the last 3 weeks, we've learned about social emotional learning. That's kind of a big, complicated phrase, but when we break it down, social emotional learning means acquiring information about how our emotions impact the way we interact with the other people around us. So we talked about identifying and labeling emotions. We talked about the brain state model, where we have the survival, emotional, and executive state. Now those three, when you're in your survival and your emotional state, your brain's not ready to learn. Your brain is incapable of learning new information. Your brain is incapable of working with other people. Your brain is incapable of problem solving. But if we are able to recognize and regulate our survival state and our emotional state, then we can elevate our brain up to that executive state. When we're in the executive state, that's when our brain is most capable of learning and acquiring new information. So that's where we want to be if we're going to be the best that we can when we're at school. We also discussed triggers. Triggers are things that when they happen, consequently you become or you feel angry, you feel sad, you feel frustrated. Nobody's in control of you except for you. Nobody has the power to make you feel angry or make you feel sad, but sometimes things happen that are triggers that lead to us feeling sad and feeling mad, things like that. Last week we discussed the 5 steps to self-regulation. That was a 5-step process that starts with us feeling triggered and ends with us up in our executive state, creating plans to avoid those types of emotions moving forward. Today we're going to be discussing 2 powers. Now there's 7 powers that are laid out in this program that I have grown to love and grown to appreciate. It's called conscious discipline. There's 7 different powers, but today we're just going to talk about 2 of them. We'll get into more information, more detail about that later. But for now, we're going to jump into our 4-step brain smart start. We're going to start with our uniting activity. So our uniting activity is going to be some more fun information about me, just so you can feel more united to me and have a better idea of who I am. So for today's Unite, you're going to see a few pictures of a new brother that I got back in February. This is my little brother.
Back in February, my parents adopted a little puppy named Bruiser. At the time, he was only 19 pounds, but over the last 3 months or so, he has gained weight and now is over 50 pounds. He's a big ball of love and is as goofy as he could possibly be.
After the uniting activity, we transition into a connection activity. Now, normally with our connection activities, it would be some kind of game or some kind of hand clap or something to where people can feel physically connected to each other. But right now, in these times of social distancing and quarantine, we're really not supposed to be doing those things. So our connection activities have been a little bit different. The objective of our connection activities within these lessons is going to be just ways that we can challenge our brain and help grow our brain and help activate. They're called superhighways that connect the left hemisphere to the right hemisphere. When you have those superhighways that connect to each other, you're able to access and utilize more of your brain. So for today's cross-lateral movement, we're going to do 2 of them. The first one, you are going to start with your pinky, one of your pinkies, doesn't matter which, and your thumb. Now, when I say switch, you are going to switch. You're going to put this pinky down, put this thumb up, put this thumb down, put this pinky out. You're going to try to do it as quickly and as smoothly as you can. I've got to say this one's a little bit difficult, but if you slow down and think really hard and focus on what you're doing, it's something that you can eventually improve upon. Okay, so let's try it. Pinky and thumb. Here we go. Switch. Switch. Nope. See, I messed it up already. Switch. 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 I think I got a little bit better. Our second cross-lateral movement, this one's actually more difficult than the first one. So you're going to take your right hand, make the number 3 with your middle ring and pinky finger. With your other hand, you're going to stick up your thumb and point out your finger. And just like the first cross-lateral movement exercise, when I say switch, you're going to switch. You're going to tuck these 3 fingers down and put up your thumb and index. You're going to put these 2 fingers away and put up these 3. It's really difficult. I might have to go super slow at first, and you might too, but after some practice, it should get a little bit smoother. But let's try it for now. 3, thumb and pointer. Here we go. Switch. Switch. Nope. Switch. I always forget to put the thumb up. I can get the pointer finger out, but I forget the thumb. Switch. 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 Hopefully you can figure it out better than I can. I did the best that I could though. After our connection activity, we transition into our disengaged stress activity. Disengaging stress, we practice by doing different types of breathing strategies. Remember, it's really important when you do a breathing strategy to sit up nice and straight. Whenever you breathe in through your nose, and whenever you breathe out through your mouth. We're getting good oxygen in, we're getting bad carbon dioxide out, we're helping our heart slow down, we're helping our blood pressure slow down, we're helping our brain elevate into its highest, most executive state. So the first breathing strategy we do is called the pretzel. So the pretzel, you can't see my feet right now, but you sit up nice and straight and you cross one foot over the other, right foot over the left foot. And you take your hands, put them out in front of you like this, turn your palms so they're facing outside, cross one arm over the other, lace your fingers like this, flip your arms under your chin like this, breathe in through your nose, and out through your mouth. In through your nose, out through your mouth. We're going to do one more. This time you're going to hold your breath before you breathe out. Breathe in, hold it, breathe out. And then you unwrap, ungo, relax. There you go. Our second breathing strategy is called Macarena breathing. Now, some of you might know what the Macarena is, some of you might not. Just important part is to try to follow along with my hand motions and listen to my cues when I tell you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Here we go. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. That one's a little bit goofy, a little bit silly. I think I messed it up the first time, but the pretzel one is actually one of my favorite ones. So now we're going to transition into our fourth and final step of the Brain Smart Start, which is our commitment for the day. So our commitment for the day relates to one of those powers that I was telling you earlier. I'll tell you more about that power later, but for now we're going to make the commitment that says I commit to shifting my perception and seeing the good in the world. Again, we'll discuss more about what that means later, but for now we're making the commitment to shifting our perception and seeing the good in the world. So let's transition into the two powers that we're going to be discussing today. Within conscious discipline, there are 7 different powers. Each one of these powers is special and important in its own way, but for the sake of time, today we're only going to discuss 2 of them. The 2 powers that we're going to learn about today are important, just like I said all the other ones are, but they're also, I think, especially important given the current circumstances of quarantine and social distancing. These are 2 things that are going to help you see the world around you in a better way, and they're going to help you feel more united to the people that you might not be feeling so united with right now because you don't live with them and you're socially distant from them. So the first one we're going to talk about today is the power of perception. perception, in a simple definition, is just how you view something. So the overlying theme with the power of perception states that how I perceive a situation dictates my emotional state, and my emotional state dictates my behavior. So let's kind of break that down. How I perceive something or how I view something dictates how my emotions are going to respond. Making a connection to our brain state model, it determines how I perceive a situation, determines if I respond in my survival state, emotional state, or executive state. Once I'm in one of those three states, I'm capable of responding in a limited number of ways. If I'm in my survival state or if I'm in my emotional state, I'm not capable of responding in a helpful, responsible way because I'm feeling disconnected or I'm feeling unsafe. However, if I'm able to perceive a situation in my executive state, then I'm able to process what's happening in a more helpful way and take steps to approaching the situation in a helpful and safe way. So let's give an example for that. Let's pretend I'm driving down the road and all of a sudden a car cuts in front of me. I could perceive that situation in an unhelpful way where I think to myself, that person's such a bad driver. What are they doing? I can't believe they're such a bad driver. He's trying to cut me off. That person's so stupid. Things like that. When I perceive the situation in an unhelpful way, I'm triggered into my emotional or my survival state, and I think I'm not able to see the best in the world around me, and I will not be able to respond in a helpful way. Now, if I'm able to shift my perception and that person cuts me off and I think, whoa, maybe that person is not having a good day and they didn't see me in their blind spot, or maybe that person got some really bad news about a sick relative and they're in a hurry to go to that relative's house because that person's not feeling well. When I perceive the situation in that way, then I am feeling more patient with that person. I'm feeling more empathetic with that person. I'm feeling more understanding with that person. When I feel patience and empathy and understanding, then I am more conscious of the situation, and I'm able to let that person pass in front of me. I'm able to wish that person well, send that person some good energy, and I'm able to maintain my emotional state and maintain my executive state, and that way I can handle the situation in a helpful, productive way. So the choice is really yours to perceive the situation in an unhelpful or a helpful way, but it's also helpful to take those star breaths. Now, a couple weeks ago, we discussed star breaths. The word star, broken down S-T-A-R, means smile, take a deep breath, and relax. Now, sometimes, depending on the situation, like if I'm driving and somebody cuts me off, it might be difficult for me to smile in that time because I am feeling triggered. I'm feeling endangered. I'm feeling in that survival state. So you might not be able to put on a smile right then and there, but that's okay, because you can also make that S, instead of smile, stop, take a deep breath, and relax. So that person cuts me off, I'm going to stop, not literally stop because there's cars coming and I gotta keep driving, but stop my body, stop my brain, take a deep breath, and relax. Once I do that, I'm going to slow my heart rate down, I'm going to get some oxygen into my brain, and I'm going to be able to choose the way I perceive the situation in a helpful way. That's not only helpful for that person in the car that cut me off, but it's helpful for me, and it's helpful for the people around me. Because if I don't consciously choose the helpful way, then I'm unconsciously choosing the unhelpful way, which is not safe for that person, it is not safe for me, it is not safe for the other people on the road around me. So, it's really important that we think about stopping, taking a deep breath, and relaxing. And then once you do that, it's also helpful to kind of have an internal chat with yourself and tell yourself that you are safe. Keep breathing, and you can handle this. Once that person cuts me off, if I tell myself that I'm safe, then I'm helping myself soothe the emotions and soothe the experience of the survival state where we're craving safety. Once I know that I'm safe, then that's going to help me bump up into my emotional state. When I take some deep breaths and I reaffirm that I can handle this, then I'm going to feel more connected to the situation around me, and I can elevate myself into that executive state where I can make helpful, productive decisions. Now we're going to share 3 different scenarios. I'm going to put a picture on the screen, describe the scenario, and we're going to discuss the 2 different ways that you could perceive the situation. The unhelpful way, where you will trigger your brain into your survival and emotional state, and then we'll also discuss the helpful way, which will help soothe your survival and emotional states and elevate your brain up into that executive state. So let's go over those 3 scenarios right now.
When you see a spider on the ground, you have a couple of options of how you can perceive the situation. The unhelpful way of perceiving the situation is that your life is in immediate danger and that spider could kill you and you should be afraid and you should freak out emotionally. Or you can choose to perceive the situation as that spider's a lot smaller than I am. I could very easily either avoid that spider or just step on that spider. One of those responses is unhelpful and triggers emotional and survival responses. And the other one is helpful and triggers calm and triggers thought-provoking ideas. The choice on which perception you choose is all yours. When one of your friends comes into class late, you can choose to perceive that student as lazy. Why can't they get here on time? Don't they care about school? Or you can choose a helpful perception and decide to believe that that student maybe ran into some traffic on their way to school, or maybe something happened at home and that's why they were late today. Both choices are equally understandable, but one is helpful while one is not quite as helpful. When we see a classmate maybe not being so nice to another classmate, we can choose to perceive that child as mean, as rude, as disrespectful, as a bully, or we can decide to perceive that classmate as someone that is really in need of a friend, somebody that really needs someone to care about them, somebody that needs someone they can rely on. Again, one perception is helpful while the other perception is not quite as helpful.
The second power that we're going to be discussing today is called the power of unity. This is such an important power to practice because it's an integral part of our biological makeup that we seek to feel united with other people. Scientists describe humans as social creatures. We desire to be a part of a group. We desire to be part of a team, a part of a unit. We want to feel united and connected with the people around us. That's just naturally, biologically a fact about the human makeup. We want to feel that sense of connection. We want to feel that sense of unity. So the quote that kind of summarizes the power of unity is that we're all in this together. So that's a really important concept to think and to remind yourself that we're all in this together, especially during these times of quarantine and social distancing. It makes perfect sense for you to not feel so united right now because you haven't seen your classmates in 2 months. You haven't seen your teachers besides like videos on the internet or video chats and stuff like that. You haven't really seen your teachers in 2 months. You haven't been to school in a long time. So it makes perfect sense that maybe right now you're not feeling so united and not feeling so connected with those people. But it is super helpful if you pause and remind yourself, we're all in this together. So those overwhelming emotions that you're feeling of feeling disconnected, feeling alone, feeling of missing your classmates and friends and teachers, all your other classmates and friends and teachers are feeling those emotions too. They're feeling sadness, they're feeling loneliness, they're feeling all those same big emotions that you're experiencing. They're having those emotions too. So reminding yourself that we're all in this together is a great first step to feeling more united to people, even though you haven't seen them in such a long time. So, what are some things that you already do to strengthen your power of unity? In the morning, when you wake up, if there's people in your house, whether it's siblings, parents, grandparents, whoever you live with, whoever's in your house, chances are you say good morning to each other, or you might give your brother or sister a hug. You might give your mom a kiss on the cheek. All little things like that are small steps to strengthening your sense of unity, because you're waking up in which you are pretty isolated because you're just asleep within your own brain. And you wake up, and the very first thing you want to do is say good morning and unite to the people around you. That's a really subconscious way, you're not really thinking about it, that you've probably been strengthening your power of unity this entire time. Another way that we unite with each other, let me think of another example, is like with sports teams. The first thing that sports teams do to unite is they all wear the same uniform. They're wearing the same clothes on game days. So that's step one to feeling united. And then chances are, if you've ever been on a sports team, that in practice or in games, you all come together at some point and you all put your hands in the middle of a circle and the coach says, Cougars on 3. 1, 2, 3, Cougars. So you guys coming together, putting your hands together, and then chanting together, those are all ways that you feel united to each other. And when you feel united to each other, you're more likely to work with each other in a productive way. You're more likely to empathize with each other. You're more likely to do all those necessary things that it takes to be a successful team. Another quick short story about the power of unity. I saw this video of these firefighters from South Africa. I'm not sure what year this was. It was relatively recently, but a few years ago there was a big wildfire in Canada, and 300 firefighters from South Africa flew to Canada to help fight the fire. And in this video, they're all in the airport. Some of them know each other, but most of them are meeting each other for the first time. And before they load up into their vehicles and go fight the fire, they all come together and sing a song and dance together. And it's one of the coolest videos I've ever seen, that these people who don't know each other have just traveled thousands of miles from their home to fight a fire, and they are singing and dancing and uniting with each other. So that way they feel that connection, they feel that relationship. So that way when they're out there fighting the fire, they know that the people next to them are gonna look out for their safety and are going to take care of them and protect them, because they feel that sense of unity. It's one of the coolest, I get chills just thinking about it, one of the coolest videos I've ever seen. If you have time and if you have the ability, search on YouTube, South African firefighters sing, and I bet it will come up. So, we've discussed the power of unity to some degree. Now we're going to talk about two different structures that you can use in your home, that we use at school, that are things that you can do at home that are going to help strengthen that sense of unity in a time where you might not be feeling so united. Here are a couple of pictures of two easy structures that you can use at home to strengthen your sense of unity.
The first structure is what we call a friends and family board. This is basically just a collage of pictures of friends, family, and loved ones that you care so much about. When you look at a picture of somebody that you care about, somebody that you love, it does a lot of good for your emotional state and for your overall well-being. If you don't have a picture of a friend or family, try drawing a picture of what you think represents them. Another structure that helps you strengthen your power of unity is a wish well board. As you've learned, a wish well helps you, helps the people that you're wishing well, and helps the overall energy in the environment around you. If you don't have a wish well board, you can use a cookie sheet or some other kind of metal baking sheet, and you can use a dry erase marker to write people's names that you want to send good energy and well wishes to.
That just about wraps up today's lesson on social emotional learning. I hope you were able to learn something new about the power of perception, or the power of unity, or both, really. Before we conclude, we're going to finish with our wish well segment, Now, for those of you who haven't been watching, or maybe if you just need a reminder, the wish bell segment is at the end of a lesson, and it's where we take time to recognize and send well wishes or good energy to people that we think could be needing the good energy or those well wishes. So when I do that, I do a few things. I help my own emotional state improve because I'm sending love to other people. I increase the energy. I improve the energy around me because I'm sending out those good vibes, that good energy. And I'm also helping strengthen my sense of empathy because I'm taking time to consciously think about what other people are experiencing, and I'm empathizing with how they must be feeling right now. So I want to wish well for the students that are missing their classmates, friends, and teachers. I want to wish well for the teachers that are missing all of their students. I want to wish well for the first responders and for healthcare workers that are on the front lines of this pandemic and are putting their lives in danger to protect people that aren't first responders and healthcare workers. I also want to wish well anybody that hasn't been able to spend time with a family member because they're socially distant from each other. I also want to wish well to anybody that's just, struggling with this time. These are unprecedented times for most of us. Nobody that I know has ever really experienced anything like that, and it's difficult. But I take comfort in knowing that we're all in this together, and that even though we are apart, we are still united. So, from my heart to your heart, I wish you well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a safe summer.
Hey, Mrs. Annavale.
Hi, Mrs. Davy. How are you?
Oh, I'm hot. I was out riding my bike today.
Oh, man, I am so hot, too. I was working in my garden. It is so hot, and the weatherman keeps saying that Phoenix is just going to get hotter.
Well, we do live in a desert.
Yeah.
And it is almost summer.
Yeah. It's hot.
Well, I love being outside, even though it's hot.
Me too. But what can we do to help keep ourselves cool while we're outside?
Well, when I'm riding my bike, it's really hard for me to wear a hat because I can't fit the hat on with my helmet.
Yeah. Do you boys and girls have any suggestions on how we can help stay cool when we're outside? Oh, that's a good idea too. I like how you mentioned that. Somebody just said umbrella. Have you thought about using an umbrella?
Well, actually, I can use an umbrella when I'm walking, but I don't think that I could do this while I was riding my bike.
Oh, that's true. Any other suggestions? Oh, somebody said that we could use the fan. That's a great idea.
Well, let's see. I don't know. Can you imagine me riding my bicycle and trying to spray myself with the fan?
Yeah, probably not.
Well, I
Okay.
guess we'll have to keep thinking.
Oh, right. Any other ideas? Oh, hey! A fan! You should use this fan. This is a great idea. Good job, boys and girls.
Well, I guess I could
Do you think
put
you
that.
could use a fan?
I could try. Let's see. Okay. I don't think so, Mrs. Annabelle. I need both hands to be on my handlebars when I'm riding. This is really a nice fan, though.
That's great.
Say thank you to your daughter for letting us borrow it, please.
I will.
Well, you know what it sounds like? We need to make something that lets us stay cool without using our hands.
Oh, like something we could wear
Okay.
that would keep us cool.
Well, the wear thing I think I've got covered. I mean, I have some bandanas.
Okay.
And these are good for covering my neck to keep it from getting sunburned. I need something to put inside of it that will help me stay cool.
What is that you have over there, Miss Davy?
Actually, a friend of mine loaned some really cool stuff to me because she knew that I was really hot and she knows that I love snow. So she gave me some instant snow. Now, this isn't really snow. This is a polymer, and when you add water to it, it fluffs up and it gets really, really poofy and cool. Because when the chemical in this interacts with the water, it sucks all of the heat out of the water and it makes it cool off. This stuff's really fun for playing with, but I don't want to play with it, I want to wear it. So I think that this might be better. This stuff is another polymer, and this is called sodium polyacrylate. So, actually I said that wrong, so let's go ahead and edit. Like, go back. And 3, 2, 1. Okay. Actually, this might work better. This is another polymer, and this stuff is called sodium polyacrylate. And what this does is it's really similar to the instant snow. It absorbs the water, and when it absorbs the water or sucks it all up, it takes out the heat from the water too. So I wonder if we could use this to put into a bandana that I could wear around my neck.
Oh, cool. So we'll make a cooling neck cloth?
I think that is a great idea.
All right,
Let's
so boys
see.
and girls, our new experiment for today is we're going to make a cooling neck cloth.
Well, first I have to gather my materials. So I need some polymer, and I need some water. And, you know, to keep it from getting messy, I think I'm going to use a baggie. What else do I need? Oh, bandana. Okay, I think that's all I'm gonna need to do this. Ooh, you know what I might need? I might need a measuring spoon so that I can get just enough of the sodium polyacrylate. And I didn't put measuring spoons over here, so we're gonna have to cut.
I'm gonna just clear this off.
Where did I put my
too,
tablespoon?
So that you can kind of see that. Can you see them better? Can
Yeah.
you see that stuff better when I clean it off?
Or we can like scoot them to the side.
No.
Yeah. So coming back, do you want to lay out the bandana and like hold the bag? And I can do the pouring, or do you want to do the pouring? Okay. So we're going to lay it down because we have to like come in and like get everything and then move forward. It's like when you watch a movie and like you notice that Thor's hair is totally different than the previous shot. Okay, so what I'm thinking is like if we did, like if we just had it flat and then when we start, like then you can grab it and I'm like, oh, you know, if you hold the bag, then I can do this. We're using teamwork. Okay, ready? Okay, so 3, okay.
Yep.
We'll let you do the 3, 2, 1.
Taking stuff out of the...
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get a tablespoon of this stuff and we're gonna put it in her baggie and then we're gonna pour the water in and watch it go, because it's supposed to expand like crazy. So.
We're rolling?
Ready?
Okay.
Okay. Hey, I.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Sorry. Hey, Mrs. Davy, I'll hold the bag for you while you can put the stuff inside the bag.
Okay. So we're gonna take these sodium polyacrylate. Okay, one more time.
Start from the beginning.
Yep. Okay.
All right, Mrs. Davy, I'll hold the bag for you while you put the sodium polyacrylate inside.
Okay, so I'm taking this polymer now. Right now, this is a powder. And if I pour it in, you can see how it's all powdery. Okay, so I used about a tablespoon of that, 1 tablespoon. And now let's see, I have just over 200 milliliters of water. So let's see what happens when we add the water to the sodium polyacrylate. Okay, let's see. Oh my goodness. Mrs. Annabelle, feel that.
Oh, wow. It made like a gel.
it's getting all squishy. Wait, can you see any water in here anymore? Wait a second. It absorbed all of that water. I don't know, do we want to try to put a little more water in there? Leave it, it's okay?
I think it's good.
Okay.
If I want to wear it around my neck.
With the 1 tablespoon of the sodium polyacrylate and about 200 milliliters of water, we ended up with like 2 inches of this lovely cooling gel. Feel that, Mrs. Anabale.
Oh, that does feel cool.
Doesn't it feel cool?
That's nice, yes.
Okay, so if I do this and I push out the air, do you think you could seal that? All right, and so then I think we're gonna just roll this up so that we can put it inside our bandana. All right, and we're gonna fold over and roll, 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 roll. And do you want to try it out?
I would love to try it out.
Okay, I'm going to hand it to you.
Oh, this is so nice.
I wonder if we tie the ends together, would that help it stay on your neck?
Yes, especially if I want to go out and garden.
You could totally wear that in the garden.
Oh, this is so nice. And I feel cool. I am ready to go outside. Thank you, Mrs. Davy.
You're welcome, Mrs. Anabale.
Okay. All right, so boys and girls, let's just go over the steps of making a cooling neck cloth. So the first step is you want to gather those materials, the bandana, plastic bag, water, and any...
Can we start again?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
And go.
All right, so boys and girls, let's go over how to make that cooling neck cloth. The first step is you want to gather your materials, the bandana, the plastic bag, water, and the sodium polyacrylate. Then you want to follow the steps that we showed you on making the bandana. And then you can wear your cloth any way, like tie it and wear it around. Do you have any other ways that we think that we can keep ourselves cool, Mrs. Davy?
Well, I mean, when we're outside and we use these, we're making shade, right? So if I use an umbrella, I'm making shade. If you use a hat, you're making shade, right? So we're making some shade from the sun, and that kind of keeps us cool. I don't know. I mean, could we, what do you think, kids? I'm not sure. I need your ideas. Really? Okay, yeah, that's a great idea. You know, I heard someone say that we could wear like a long sleeve shirt, something that's like a light color and lightweight, and that kind of gives us some shade too. What else do we think? Wear my hat. That's giving me some shade. Let's break for a second. When we get to the follow the steps, like, do we want to show them?
He did, because I can see
Okay.
what they did.
White
Yeah, he had.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brenna and
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
I didn't know if you wanted to go through the steps.
Yeah, that was, I thought you were saying like go through the steps again.
I don't know.
Because we have an extra bag, we have extra of this, we have extra
No.
of that.
Not actually do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like verbally,
Okay, okay, so just verbal review. Got it.
kinda like a recap.
Yeah.
Okay, where's our, let's bring the yellow one back in the shot.
So you want to start from the top again?
I don't know. Because I did kind of interrupt, so.
If
Okay,
you want me to, when you start to, let's say, follow the steps, I can zoom into the steps. And, get a shot of that as you read them.
okay.
And then
I think
move on.
when we get here, we can say to keep it extra cool, you can soak it in water before you put it on.
Okay,
We're
do you want to
obviously-
do that?
Yeah,
Okay,
we can do that.
yeah, okay, perfect.
So, like, do we want to have this one already rolled up?
Yeah, because you've already
Yeah,
did it.
we already did that, so,
We don't have to like redo the
Yeah.
physical process, we just kind of verbally.
yep, sounds good. So what I forgot to do earlier was I was going to do that. I was going to like seal it in. Like a little sausage. Okay. So if we do that. Good?
Perfect, yeah.
Got it? Okay.
We're gonna start from the top, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, kids. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
All right, boys and girls, let's go over the steps on how to make a cooling neck cloth. The first thing you want to do is gather those materials, your bandana, the plastic bag, water, and the sodium polyacrylate. Then you're going to follow the steps on how to make a bandana.
So fill about 2 inches of the plastic bag with your water and your tablespoon of sodium polyacrylate.
And then, remove the air and seal, lay out your bandana, roll it up in the plastic bag, tie it on the ends, and then if you want to, you can soak it in water, or
you can soak it in water to make it kind of extra cool on the outside, give you a little bit of extra evaporative cooling.
And then wear it to help keep yourself cool.
All right.
Summer is right around the corner. We have to do things to help keep ourselves safe in the sun. Here's one of those things that we can help keep ourselves cool in the sun. We can wear hats, use umbrellas to make shade. Also, if you go outside, make sure you wear sunscreen, boys and girls. It's really important for Phoenix.
And if you need to stay cool, you can use a little bit of water on your skin. So that's where these come in handy. But the best of all, when I go on my bike ride, I can't wait to wear my cooling neck cloth.
Yeah.
This is gonna be awesome.
Yes, thank you so much for showing us how to do that. All right, boys and girls, have fun making your cooling neck cloth today. Bye.
Good morning, students. I'm Michael Roberts, Superintendent of the Osborn School District in Central Phoenix.
And I'm Quentin Boyd, Superintendent of the Roosevelt School District in South Phoenix.
We're pleased to have this partnership with the City of Phoenix to take Phoenix students on a new learning adventure right here on Phoenix TV.
Just because our school buildings are closed doesn't mean the learning stops.
We have the best, most creative teachers from Roosevelt and Osborn School Districts on board to provide you with a great learning experience.
Okay, students, that's the bell, so the Phoenix TV Study Hall resumes. Here's your next lesson.
Hello, welcome to first and second grade science. My name is Ms. Soto. I am a second grade teacher at the Roosevelt School District. A fun fact about me is that I love to swim, and Arizona is the perfect place for that because our weather is always so warm. Now, we are back with another lesson today, and our lesson for today is STEM. Now, what is STEM? STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Science is one of my kids' favorite subjects because they love to experiment and they love to do fun things other than paper and pencil. So I feel like today is going to be the perfect place for that. Now, this is not going to be just a regular science experiment. This is going to be a STEM experiment. Now, while I was researching for an experiment for us to do, I found 3 experiments that I feel like you guys will really enjoy. The first one, we will be creating a cotton ball launcher. Ooh. The second one, we will be building with jelly beans. Funny, right? And the third one, we will be doing a catapult. Do you know what a catapult is? You will find out. Now, all these experiments will require materials. Some you can find at home, and some you will have to buy if you have to, but they're fairly cheap materials. Now, for this experiment, you will need the help of an adult, like mom or dad or grandma or grandpa, or an older sibling. I hope you enjoy this experiment as much as I did, so let's get to work.
For our first experiment, we will make a cotton ball launcher. For the materials, you will need a cotton ball, a single hole puncher, scissors, 2 toilet paper tubes, duct tape, a pencil, and rubber bands. We will now begin our experiment. As you can see, I have my 6 materials laid out. I have my 2 toilet paper tubes, a single hole puncher, some scissors, duct tape, 2 rubber bands, a cotton ball, and a pencil. Now it is time to get started. Our first step is to cut our first toilet paper tube in half. You will get your scissors and you will cut it in half all the way down. As you can see, my toilet paper tube is now cut in half. Now I will roll it into a small diameter. Now I will tape it so it is secured. I will get my scissors and I will cut 2 small pieces of duct tape to secure my diameter. As you can tell, I'm placing it and making sure that it's tight. I will get my second piece of duct tape and I will do the same thing. There you go. It is ready. Now, since we have taped it in place, it is now time to put my duct tape and scissors away. I won't no longer need those. I will get my single hole puncher and I will punch a hole on one of the ends of my toilet paper tube. Cardboard is hard, so as you can tell, I'm using my both hands and I did it. There is my first hole. I need a second hole on the opposite side. There you go. I now have 2 holes on my toilet paper tube. Now, as you can tell, I have 2 holes on my toilet paper tube on one of the ends. I no longer need my single hole puncher. I need my pencil and I'm going to poke a hole through both of the holes that I created. I will leave my pencil inside these 2 holes. I am just sliding it in and out to show you that it is placed correctly. Now this is where the fun begins. We will now use our second toilet paper tube. Now, with our second toilet paper tube, I am going to need my scissors once again. I am going to cut 2 slits, and they're just small openings, and I'm going to do it on the side. As you can tell, they're just small. In a second, I will show you how small they are because I will press them down. They are small slits. They are not big. Now, I will put my scissors away. I no longer need those. It is now time to use our rubber bands. With my rubber bands, I will place them in the slits that I created. One goes there, one goes on the opposite side. Perfect. I will now get more duct tape to secure the slits so my cotton ball launcher will be strong. I will place one on one side and one on the other. With this piece of tape, I will make 2 pieces. Remember that you also have to save material, so if you can save material, that's perfectly fine. I will place it down and I will rub it together, make it even. And there it is. My rubber band is now secured. I will do the same to the other side. I will place it. I will rub it together. And there we go. It is now tightly secured as well. As you can tell, both of my rubber bands are now tightly secured. Now our second toilet paper tube will also come together with our first one. As you can tell, our pencil is still in there. We are going to put it in the middle. Now it's starting to look like a launcher. The rubber bands are going to go around the pencil, just like that. There you go. Just around the pencil. It is ready. Now the fun begins. Our cotton ball will go inside the launcher. We will place it. It is now ready to go. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's test it out. Whoa, did you see that? That was awesome. Let's watch that again in slow motion. Wow. I really hope you enjoyed the cotton ball launcher experiment we just created. That was a really fun experiment, and now we are ready for our second one. Our second experiment is called Building with Jelly Beans. The materials you will need, you only need 2 of them. You will need toothpicks and jelly beans. Let's get started. All right, let's get started. I have laid out my materials. You will need jelly beans. I got all kinds of jelly beans of different colors, and toothpicks. Let's get started. I have gotten my toothpicks out of the box, so we are ready to go. My jelly beans are in the jar, as you can see. Now, I will take a jelly bean and I will put it on the corner of one of the toothpicks. My goal is to make a cube. I'm going to be buildings. So, if I'm going to make a building, I have to make a strong base. So, I'm going to make it into a cube. As you can tell, I am putting one on each corner. Think of a cube or a square. That is our base. Jelly beans are kind of hard, so don't be afraid to stab it in there, but also be very careful. Toothpicks can be kind of pokey, so you have to be very careful with your fingers. Hold it very tightly, just like I am. That didn't work, you can try it on the other corner just like that. That is going to be my base. As you can tell, I have my base. There you go. Now, I will do it once again, and I'm going to stack it on top. I am building. The challenge of this experiment is to see how many jelly beans you can stack all together on top of each other. So we'll see how many I'm able to stack at the end. So I decided to place all my toothpicks ready to go, so then it's going to be easier to place the jelly beans. Again, I'm using both of my hands. Both of my hands all over again. I need toothpicks now. I'm going to put it yellow, and I'm going to put it with the pink. As you can tell, my hands are moving quickly, but I'm being very careful still. Wow, that is starting to look like a 3D shape right there. It looks like a cube. It's awesome. Again, remember that when you're doing this, to be very careful and also to remain counting the jelly beans that you're placing in your building. There you go. Very colorful cube. I am all done now. As you can tell, this is my finished result of building with jelly beans. Are you ready to count the jelly beans with me? We are going to count the jelly beans to see how many we created. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Well, as you can tell, I used 16 jelly beans. I am glad that our buildings and our cities are not made out of jelly beans, because jelly beans are not very strong, but it was very fun to build with them. I challenge you to beat me and try to add more jelly beans than I did. I only did 16, but I'm pretty sure you can do more. I hope you enjoyed building with jelly beans. We will now do our last experiment, which is our cotton ball catapult. The materials are 1 cotton ball, 8 craft sticks, cap of a drink, a hot glue gun, and rubber bands, small ones. Let's get started. I have laid out my materials for us. You will need 5 materials for this experiment. I have small rubber bands. You will need a lot of them, so just get a bunch. A cotton ball. You will need a cap of a drink. I'm using the cap of a Gatorade bottle. You will need 8 popsicle sticks or craft sticks and a hot glue gun. Remember, since you will be needing a hot glue gun, to use an adult or an older sibling to help you with this experiment. I hope you guys will enjoy this. Let's get started. Your first step is to get 6 popsicle sticks. You need to put them in a line all together, and we are actually going to secure them with a couple of rubber bands on each end. So, as you can tell, I will grab a rubber band and I will tie it around the popsicle sticks. Since there is a lot of them, try to only do 2 loops. If not, they will snap back in your fingers and that may hurt a little bit. I like to do a couple rubber bands on each corner so they're tight and secured. I will do the same thing to the other corner. There you go. Remember that there's a lot of popsicle sticks, so the more the rubber bands, the better. We want it to be strong. Now we will work with our 2 leftover popsicle sticks. Now, we will grab a couple rubber bands, but instead of doing it on both corners, we're only gonna tie them around one corner, and you will see why in a second. I will use 4 rubber bands to put them in the corner, and I will just make them really secured so our catapult will be strong. Again, you will not tie rubber bands on the other corner of the 2 popsicle sticks. Now that I have finished tying my rubber bands with my 2 popsicle sticks, I will carefully open them and I will stick them in the middle of my 6 popsicle sticks created. I'm going to secure them. Now that we have them secured, I am now going to use more rubber bands to secure them all together. Since they are secured now, I am now going to start using my rubber bands. The way that you will use your rubber bands, you will use your rubber band in an X formation. I will show you how that looks like. Now, after all those rubber bands, our catapult is slowly coming together. It is now very tight. Now we will use our hot glue gun. We will place some glue on the corner of our sticks. As you can tell, it is going on the top portion. This is the part where you ask an adult to help you, since a hot glue gun is very dangerous if not handled carefully. You will press your cap on the corner so it is strongly secured. I am double checking that it is strongly secured, and I'm going to test it out without the cotton ball. It looks good. It is now time to test our catapult. We have worked really hard and we will now see our results. We'll place our cotton ball on the cap. I want to use my 2 index fingers to hold down my catapult, and I will use my thumbs to hold it back and release. Did you see that? We can watch it again in slow motion. Let's see that. Wow. That was awesome. I hope you enjoyed that, friends.
Hello, we are back. I hope you enjoyed watching me do those experiments. I challenge you now to create those experiments at home. My favorite was the cotton ball launcher. I had a lot of fun creating it, and it was easy to find those materials at home. It's crazy how sometimes we have those materials laying around at home, and now you can use them for something in your house. Now, my other challenge to you is to teach someone in your house this experiment. Maybe someone didn't watch this with you. Now it is your job to be the teacher, and you do that. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Remember, STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. I'll see you next time.
And welcome back to Science News. I'm Joan Bucklew. We here at SN have our ear to the heartbeat of every science event, and today is no exception. Last week, we brought an update on climate from our climate specialist, Jake Kindlon. This week's special edition of Science News, we will be bringing you an interview that only SN can provide. We are going to the Osborn School District's laboratories where engineers are working around the clock. They are going to be exploring and teaching us some very important lessons. First, we need to kind of explore what an engineer is. The word engineer comes from the Latin word that means to create or design, and it also means cleverness. Engineering is used to design and create things or processes that are useful and is a way to solve real-world problems. Engineering is used to design and create things or processes that are useful in the real world today. Engineers are the ones who are trained to find these problems in the world and solve them. They want to know how and why things work. They're incredibly curious people, and their basic job is to dig out these problems and find a way to solve them. Each engineer has a specialty. Before we go to our laboratories, which are coming up shortly, we're going to go to our very own Jake Kindlon, who's going to explore and share with us some of these specialties that engineers have. Jake?
Yes, thank you, Joan. There are many different types of engineers, but basically 6 major categories. Let's start with civil engineer. Have you ever tried building a fort in your house with sheets? You know when you have that one corner that keeps falling, so you redesign the way you're supporting it? Well, you're a civil engineer when you're doing that. If you can dream it, a civil engineer can build it. Buildings, bridges, tunnels, airports, roads, and dams are all designed by civil engineers. They find a problem like the one they had in the city of San Francisco. The people in San Francisco couldn't get around easily without a boat. So civil engineers solved that problem by designing this big, beautiful bridge behind me, the Golden Gate Bridge. Hold on, let me just step into this jet of water here. Next up is the mechanical engineer. This problem solver focuses on anything related to machines. They like to design anything from simple to complex, like drills, cars, trains, or even this baby that helps me mine coal. I'd like to use that in my backyard. If it has a movement or gears, you can bet a mechanical engineer designed it to solve a problem. Chemical engineers are the next problem solvers. This group tends to focus in the area of biology, physics, and math. For example, last week, when we cleaned water, we were chemical engineers. We solved the problem of dirty water and designed a way to make the water clean. Here in the desert, we have very complicated ways to purify your drinking water using chemicals so it's safe for us to drink. Every time you take a drink of clean water, thank a chemical engineer. Our fourth type of engineer are petroleum engineers. Every vehicle on the face of the earth would not be able to run without these clever designers. They specialize in processing the oils we get from the earth, called crude oil, and design all sorts of ways for us to use it like jet fuel, tires, and basketballs. Now, our next group of designers are electrical and electronics engineers. These creative people specialize in anything that works with electricity. I bet you can think of some examples right off the bat. You're watching one right now. Can you think of some more? What problem do you think the microwave was trying to solve? Our last group of innovators is our aerospace engineers. This group of designers never keep their feet on the ground. They look to the skies and beyond. Rockets, planes, satellites, and spaceships all exist because of an aerospace engineer. Well, that's it from this reporter, Jay Kindlon. Back to you, Joan.
Thank you, Jake. Our viewers are now well informed, and it looks like you found a new way to travel. You're going to have to share how you're doing that at our future broadcast. Now, I know aerospace engineers weren't around 100 years ago. Why is that? We didn't have planes 100 years ago. So, in other words, I understand that engineering develops as we need the problem solved as technology develops in the world today. Viewers, what do you think is going to be the next engineer? Well, now we're going to head on over to Rodi Vehr. She's over at the Osborn Laboratories. Let's see what they're developing there. Rodi?
Thank you, Joan. I'm Rodi Vehr, one of the top engineers here at the Osborn Laboratory. We are here in the lab to show you the top secret ways to think and create like an engineer. As you have learned from our SN report about engineers, in order to think like an engineer, you need to be observant, a problem solver, and creative. Have you ever been bored in the bathtub or a swimming pool? Of course you have. We all have. That's a problem we can solve with engineering. How do we solve it? We find a way to have fun. Our first activity today is going to do just that. We'll be making a paddle boat. That is a way we can create something fun to do while in that tub or swimming pool, showing how we can solve a problem through engineering. Of course, make sure you ask your family to help you and get permission to perform all of these investigations. If you can, you might want to write down the materials you need, or even sketch this picture quickly, then label the parts to help you remember the materials. You will need a plastic bottle. We chose one that had 4 flat sides. 2 wooden chopsticks, or perhaps you have some pencils around, or maybe some skewers from the kitchen drawer. You'll need a milk jug. You'll need scissors. You'll need duct tape. You'll need a rubber band. We used a thick, medium-sized rubber band. I could have gotten this off the asparagus at the grocery store if I wanted. A ruler, a pencil, and packing tape. Okay, let's get started. Step 1, cut 4 large pieces out of the plastic milk jug. Then, on each of those pieces, you're going to use your ruler and your pencil to precisely draw a rectangle that is 3 inches long by 2 inches wide. See how we've done that already? 3 inches long by 2 inches wide. Use your ruler to get straight sides. Then you'll cut them out. We've already done that to save some time here. You'll need 4 of these rectangles. 4, we have them ready. Next, you're gonna bend or fold each of the rectangles in the center. And we know, we just bring it together like that. Crease it, there's 1. And I'm gonna crease it again. We call this making a hamburger fold. So now we're gonna duct tape the sides together. We're gonna take it like this. We're looking to make a shape that looks like a cross like this. See that? We're gonna tape 2 sides together at a time. So I've got my duct tape here ready to go. I'm gonna take this and I am going to tape these sides together. Whoops, there we go. All the way around and around. Then I'm going to take another piece and I'm going to attach it. I take another piece of duct tape and I tape it. Wrap it around. There's not like a magical number of times to wrap it around. Okay. Take another piece of duct tape. Wrap it around. I'm making the paddle part of our paddle boat right now. This is the paddle. We might also call it a propeller because, okay, there we go. See that? That piece is finished. Next, you're going to be attaching the chopsticks or your kitchen skewers or your pencils, whichever you choose, to the sides of the bottle. That's why we chose a flat-sided one. So we're going to want these chopsticks down the side on opposite sides, but see, I want about 3 to 4 inches of my stick down here at the end. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to take my packing tape and I'm going to secure, giving myself a little bit of room. I'll make it solid in just a second. I just want to be able to play with it so it's a little loose. Okay. Then I flip it over. I make sure that I have these sides straight. I take my other piece of packing tape. It wants to be a little feisty here. I'll see. There we go. Okay. I have that secured. So when I have the chopsticks right where I want them, or right where you want them, press down on the packing tape to make it stick. And then you're going to wrap that packing tape with your duct tape. Clear that off at the side. Okay. So now the next step is to attach the rubber band to the chopsticks. It should fit perfectly. You don't want it to be stretched out. Like if let's see, will that work? It's a little bit loose. I don't want to use that one. Let's try this thicker one. I think this is more what I'm looking for. Yeah. So we've attached that. Then we're going to slide 2 blades of the paddle through the rubber band. Okay, so next comes the engineering fun. You're going to try different ways to adjust the paddle boat. Explore, make adjustments. Those adjustments are called variables. Remember, engineers solve problems because they wonder about things, respond creatively, and make adjustments. They ask questions like this: what way will the paddle boat move if I wind the rubber band forward? Oh, look at that. Which way will that move now? Boy, if I had that swimming pool or bathtub, I could try it out. What happens if we wind it backwards? How would it go then? Now, how about moving the rubber band? Another variable. We're going to change where the rubber band sits. So, then we would wind it. Will that change what happens with our boat? Okay. Hey, you can count the number of times you wind the paddle. 1, 2, 3, 4. And change that up and determine if or what difference that makes. How would you measure that difference? How can you improve on this model? Explore, change the variables, because that's what engineers do. Now I want you to think back to what you learned on SN. What kind of engineer were you being when you made this paddle boat? You got it! You were a mechanical engineer. That's right, very good. All right, let's move on to our next problem. Follow me. Here we are in the Osborn Laboratories, laboratory number 2. We have another problem. Let's say that an oil tanker at sea has an accident. An oil tanker is a huge ship that transports oil from place to place. Now that creates a problem for our world. The problem is that oil is poison to animals and the water. This problem has really happened several times. The largest spill was in 2010 in the Gulf of Mexico, and many creatures were damaged and killed. Now that is a big problem. So how do we engineers solve this? First, let's look at what we need. A container, water, oil, feathers. You can just go outside and find some feathers that birds have left for you. We're gonna pretend that those are the animals. Paper towels, different sponges, cloths, straws, okay? Okay, in this activity, simply fill the container with water, then add oil to the water. More oil in there, but not too much. Don't use up all of your family's oil. Okay. Now, we're gonna add a few feathers to the mix. Those are our animals. And, okay, think about the problem. Imagining those feathers are animals and the water is the ocean. How do we get the oil out of the water and off of the animals, or in this case, the feathers? That's what engineers do. Because you are solving a problem that has to do with the environment, you would be called what kind of engineer? An environmental engineer. You're gonna need to try different things. You're gonna change the variables. You might try sponges, paper towels, regular towels, different kinds of sponges. You might even try straws. Again, get permission from an adult before you try this. Be careful about using soap. This can further poison our animal life and the water they live off. These are real problems that engineers have solved. For an extra challenge, try and remove the oil without removing too much water. Now, pay special attention to how the oil affects the feathers. What do you notice when it comes in contact with the water? Remember, this is an animal. Remember, engineers ask questions because they are curious. Keep trying to solve this problem. Now, imagine the world if when we all saw problems, we all thought like engineers. The world would have far fewer problems, don't you think? That's all for now from Osborn Laboratories. Keep making things better. Back to you, Joan.
Thank you, Rodi. I know our viewers will really enjoy those investigations. Well, there you have it. This week's report from SN. Everyone here at Science News wishes you and yours a safe week. I'm Joan Bucklew. Stay interested.
Hi there, I'm Mrs. Netherow and I'm a 6th grade teacher at Kindlon Elementary in the Roosevelt School District. During our time together today, we're going to take some steps and learn some new things that will help us to complete an engineering challenge at home. So the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to talk about exactly what it means to be an engineer. Second, we're going to do a super short read aloud where we'll gain some inspiration for our engineering challenge. Then me and some guests will walk you through the engineering design process so you're set up for success to complete this challenge at home, by yourself or maybe with some family members. Let's get started. Let's talk about what an engineer is. An engineer is someone who shares their curiosity, observes and wonders. Engineers explore the world around them. They discover new things. Engineers create, they invent, they ask questions, and they use tools to solve problems. Take a look at the definition of an engineer on the right-hand side of your screen. Let's read the definition of an engineer together. An engineer is someone who designs or creates something to solve a problem. You can be an engineer. Now that we have a better understanding of what engineers do and what engineers are, we're going to do a short read aloud. This read aloud is titled After the Fall, How Humpty Dumpty Got Back Up Again, and it's written by an author named Dan Sontat. I chose this read aloud for 2 reasons. The first reason I chose this read aloud is because Humpty Dumpty, our main character, shows a really important character trait that I would argue all engineers need to have. So I want us to learn from Humpty Dumpty throughout this story today so we can take his character trait on in our own lives as we go through the engineering design process. We're going to learn from Humpty Dumpty as he identifies a problem in his own life and he starts designing and creating a solution to that problem. The second reason I chose this story is because I need Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. I need that familiar nursery rhyme fresh in our mind because Humpty Dumpty is going to be the inspiration for our engineering design challenge today. After the fall, how Humpty Dumpty got back up again. A story by Dan Santat. My name is Humpty Dumpty. This was my favorite spot, high up on the wall. I know it's an odd place for an egg to be, but I loved being close to the birds. Then one day I fell. I'm sort of famous for that part. Folks call it the Great Fall, which sounds a little grand. It was just an accident, but it changed my life. Fortunately, all the king's men managed to put me back together again. Well, most of me. There were some parts that couldn't be healed with bandages and glue. After that day, I became afraid of heights. I was so scared that it kept me from enjoying some of my favorite things. I walked past the wall every day, and I would think about climbing that ladder again. I really missed the birds and being high above the city, but I could never do it because I knew that accidents can happen. I eventually settled for watching the birds from the ground. It wasn't the same, but it was better than nothing. Then one day, an idea flew by. Making planes was harder than I thought. It was easy to get cuts and scratches, but day after day, I kept trying and trying. Humpty Dumpty had an idea, and it seems that that idea is related to airplanes. He looks like an engineer here, designing and creating. He kept trying until I got it just right. My plane was perfect, and it flew like nothing could stop it. I hadn't felt that happy in a long time. It wasn't the same as being up in the sky with the birds, but it was close enough. He kept trying and finally got it perfect. He was super persistent. He never gave up. Unfortunately, like we know, and Humpty Dumpty knows, accidents happen. They always do. We see the wall, we see the ladder, and I see one of his airplanes flying. I almost walked away again, but then I thought about all the time I'd spent working on my plane and all the other things I'd missed. So I decided I was going to climb that wall. But the higher I got, the more nervous I felt. I didn't want to admit it. I was terrified. Humpty Dumpty's climbing that wall. That's where his airplane has gone. But we know he is so afraid of heights due to his previous accident. I didn't look up. I didn't look down. I just kept climbing. One step at a time. He just kept climbing. Until I was no longer afraid. Maybe now you won't think of me as that egg who was famous for falling. Hopefully you remember me as the egg who got back up and learned how to fly. Life begins when you get back up. The end. At the start of this story, I gave you a couple of questions that I wanted you to listen for the answers of. Let's revisit those questions to help guide us through the remaining parts of our lesson. At the very beginning of the book, we heard this quote. Then one day, an idea flew by. What was the idea? What did Humpty Dumpty design and create? And what problem did Humpty Dumpty try to solve with his idea? Remember, Humpty Dumpty was terrified of heights due to his accident of falling off the wall. So he saw those birds fly by and he had the idea to design and create something that we know as a paper airplane, but he designed and created a flying bird to get him as close as possible back up that wall to spend time looking at the birds. And through the process of flying that paper bird, it got stuck on the wall, which required him to face his fears, climb up the ladder, and retrieve it. The last question I want you thinking about: which of Humpty Dumpty's character traits helped him as an engineer and why? Remember, as he was designing and creating that paper airplane or that paper bird, he didn't get it right the first time. He had to try and try and try again. When we don't give up, that's called being persistent. And that's a very important character trait that engineers have. It's something important that we'll need today during our engineering challenge. Engineers need to be persistent because you're not going to get it right the first time. You're going to learn from your mistakes to always make improvements until you do get it right. We know that engineers take real-world problems and they brainstorm and think up designs and creations to solve those problems. Humpty Dumpty was an example of an engineer. We also know that when we come up with solutions to problems, we might not always get it right the first time. So we have to try and try and try again. That's called being persistent. Today, we're going to be going through the engineering design process to complete an engineering challenge. So here it is. It's inspired by Humpty Dumpty. We are going to be using found materials around our home to design an egg contraption. The goal is that an egg could get from a height like Humpty Dumpty on top of that wall, and he could fall without being harmed. So one more time, our goal for this engineering challenge is to use found materials to design an egg contraption that gets an egg like Humpty Dumpty safely to the ground. I'm going to teach you a little bit about the engineering design process, and along the way, you'll also see some examples. That's going to set you up for success. At the end of the lesson, when it's time for us to say goodbye, you can complete this design challenge by yourself or with someone at home. Let's take a look at that design process. Now, if you were to jump on Google and research the engineer design process, you would see there are many examples that are all different. But when you dig deep into understanding any of those engineer design processes and you compare them and you contrast them, there are so many similarities. This design process, the one you see in front of you, is the one that we're going to be using today. With this engineer design process, we're going to identify a problem. We're going to explore, design, and create. After we have created, we're going to try it out. And most importantly, we're going to take our results and find ways to make them even better. The first thing we need to do when we're going through the engineering design process is identify the problem. So here it is. Using found materials, can you design an egg drop contraption that gets your eggs safely to the ground? If you were with me last week, you know humans can greatly impact our Earth. And oftentimes, we impact our Earth in really negative ways. So the first part of this problem that you see is I want us to use found materials. That's going to require us to reduce, reuse, and recycle. I'm going to be asking you to go throughout your home, find trash, possibly clean trash, so you can go through the design and creation process along with me and my guests. We are going to design and create a contraption that's going to lessen the egg's impact, and it's going to prevent the egg from breaking. Basically, let's design and create a contraption to ensure this doesn't happen. Our next step is to explore. During this step, we need to do two things. We need to find out what others have done to solve similar problems, and we need to gather our materials and start to play with them and brainstorm with them. So for the exploration, we're going to learn from other people. We could take a look at Google, we could look at YouTube, and we could find other egg drops and make note of what was successful for others and what didn't work for them, so we don't make or repeat the same mistakes. During the exploration process, we might also think about what we know about eggs, things like they're fragile, they break. We might think about what we know about gravity. And another important question to ask ourselves would be, what can I do to protect the egg from impact and keep it from breaking? The second part of this process is to gather our materials and start playing with them. On your screen, you can see the materials I gathered from around my home. I purchased nothing. I felt like any of these materials would be helpful in building something that would help me to drop an egg and prevent it from the impact that the ground might have. I think with these materials, I can stop an egg from breaking. This is where the fun begins, the design. You're about to see 3 different designs from 3 different people. To begin designing your own egg drop contraption, feel free to use their ideas and make them your own. Remember, more brains are better than one. Up next, create. Let's get to building an egg drop contraption that will save it from breaking. Use your plan to build your idea. You might notice some changes or revisions are being made. That's all part of the process. Feel free to do the same. Let's try out our 3 prototypes that we designed and built. While we test our ideas, we want to make sure we're making observations so we're able to determine what worked and what didn't. That way we can cycle back through the design process and improve our contraption to make it better. We've done a ton in the last 20 minutes. We've learned about what it means to be an engineer. We know engineers are people who look at the real world, they're looking for problems in the real world, and they're wanting to design and create solutions to those problems. We also know that engineers need to be willing to try things over and over and over again. They need to be persistent, because the fact is most often when we're trying to find a solution to a problem, we're not going to find a solution the first time. Then you helped me and some of my guests as we worked through the engineering design process. We were given the problem of the egg drop challenge, and we explored, we designed, we created, and we tried our potential solutions out. Now, out of the three of us, only one egg drop contraption was successful. Only one was dropped from a height, landed on the ground, and the egg survived the fall. I want you to think back to those results. What worked? What didn't work? What would you do differently? And now what I would like is for you to take the strengths and think about the weaknesses, to be persistent just like Humpty Dumpty. And I want you to try this egg drop challenge again. Make it your own. Cycle back through the engineering design process and give it a try on your own. Good luck with the engineering design challenge. Thank you for joining me today. Stay healthy, and I hope you enjoy your summer.
Hi, and welcome to 7th and 8th grade science. My name is Mrs. Carlson. I'm from Irene Lopez School in the Roosevelt School District. Get ready to build today. We're going to do our engineering challenge. For today's lesson, you're going to need a paper and a pencil to begin. We're going to start with our quick write. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I want you to think about what are the different types of pollution you have seen. How does pollution affect the environment? I'm going to go ahead and start my timer. You have 2 minutes, and I gave you some examples that I have seen. So in the first photo to the left is actually a photo here in Arizona in the Cocochino Forest. So that's after people are leaving their trash behind after camping. So we have littering, we have land pollution. The middle photo is a photo of Los Angeles, so air pollution. And the last photo is a very popular photo from National Geographic of a seahorse wrapped around a Q-tip, so ocean pollution. I want you to think about what types of pollution have you seen, and then how is this going to affect the environment. You have about 1 more minute. About 30 seconds, let's start wrapping up your ideas. Ten seconds. And that is our timer. So again, I was thinking of land, air, and water pollution. There's also light pollution, which I didn't include in here. And then how is it affecting the environment? So maybe it's affecting the habitats, the animals, the people that live there. As we're thinking of the environment, I also want us to put our engineering hat on. So an engineer is someone who uses science and research to design and build a solution or a structure.
So we're going to use the engineering design process. I did take this from teachingengineering.org, and if you're bored this summer, there's a lot of fun lessons on there and videos for you. And we're going to follow this process. So we're first going to start by asking, what is the problem, and identify our needs and constraints or things that we might be limited to. We're going to research the problem. We're going to imagine possible solutions, plan a solution, create a prototype, test and evaluate that prototype, and then lastly, improve and redesign if needed. So let's go ahead and get started with our problem. So as we looked in our quick write, our photo, Arizonans are trashing forest areas. So this was just 2 weeks ago. Now that we're allowed to start coming outdoors and the states are opening again, people are visiting our national parks but are leaving a lot of trash. So the National Park Service is worried that when monsoon season comes in July, the trash will flow into the streams and become polluted. Your task: build a water filter prototype using only recycled materials or materials you find in your home. So again, when we're asking you about our problem, we're seeing that we need to find a way to reduce the trash in the streams, and our constraint is we can only use recycled materials or materials in our home. Now that we've researched a local problem, we're going to use our own personal research to imagine solutions. So let's think about the types of filters we have seen. So on the left-hand side, I have a filter that you might have seen for your air conditioning unit. So this is an air filter so that it filters out the dirt, dust, any harmful bacteria in the air. On the right-hand side, one of the most popular filters you're probably seeing is a face mask. So for the face mask, it could filter out dust when you're doing construction. It can filter out, and most recently, we're using it to filter out germs in the environment. On the right-hand side, you might have seen your mom or dad use coffee filters to filter out the beans or the coffee grounds from your coffee. And at the bottom, these are all different types of vacuum filters. And so you'll notice there's different materials that we can use to filter out a lot of that dust and hair from a vacuum. Since my solution is making a water filter, I want you to think back to your science class. So your teacher might have taught you about filtration with water and separating mixtures. So when I think of filtration, I'm thinking of using a funnel to separate any solids, for example, sand or dirt, from a liquid, so in this case, water. Now let's go ahead and start planning. I want you to think of materials you have at home to create a solution to our pollution problem and making that air filter. So perhaps you have a funnel, or you can make a paper funnel. Perhaps you have coffee filters, gravel. If you have an aquarium, you might have carbon pellets. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to start searching around your home, plan out the materials you're going to use. Maybe cotton balls, paper towels. Start looking around. You have 2 minutes.
down to our last minute to start bringing the stuff to the table. Make sure you are ready. You have those materials on your table. We're about to begin. So let's build our prototype. So I know you might have different materials than me. Here's what I have in my home. So I had a water bottle I'm going to recycle. I use scissors and I just use it like so to cut off the top. That's going to be my funnel. I have 2 coffee filters, actually 3 coffee filters I'm going to use. And that might be too much, so I'm going to use 2. Actually, I can only get 1 to successfully fit. Use 1 coffee filter. And I cut this netting material that I had from my classroom. If you buy potatoes in a bag, you can also get similar netting material from there. And there we go. That is my prototype. Now we also need to set up our polluted water demonstration. So I'm going to give you a couple seconds to go ahead and fill up a clear cup of water. Clear cups are best. That way we can see how much got cleaned up. So I filled it up just a little bit here since my cups are small. And then I got to add in some stuff to make it look polluted. So I'm going to go ahead and add oil, just like there's real life oil spills. There you can see my oil bubble. I'm going to add pepper to kind of simulate dirt and other garbage. I have tahini. Going to add the bottle cap as trash. I'm going to cut up some more pieces of trash from a granola bar I ate earlier. And lastly, I'm going to add some green food coloring for effect for other liquids that might be dropped. Let's get a side view of this water, polluted water. So you have the tahini, the pepper, the trash, and the oil. So we're going to draw in our photo. Let's go ahead and bring it back to our pencil and our paper. And we want to draw out our before, and so we can compare it to our after. So I want you to go ahead and draw this like T-chart or these 2 boxes. I want you to put a drawing of what our polluted water looks like, and then use your science observational skills. What do you see and what do you smell? So maybe you smell the pepper and it makes you sneeze. You can see the oil at the top. You can see how dirty it looks. I want you to describe what you see and what you smell. And then at the bottom, you're going to make a prediction. I predict that the, and then describe your filter type to me, will remove what objects is it going to be able to remove, because why? I'm going to go ahead and give you 2 minutes. Go ahead and do your drawing, put some labels of the different items you put in your polluted water, bullet point those observations, and write your prediction.
How about 1 more minute? Okay, I know we might need a little bit more time for our prediction. So go ahead and continue finishing your sentence, and I'm going to go ahead and share my prediction as the example. So I predict that the water bottle top with the coffee filter will remove the trash and the oil because it is separating the solid, which is the trash, from the liquids. I also think that the oil will be separated through the coffee filter. It'll get absorbed by the coffee filter, so it will not go through. Now you may notice I didn't talk about the pepper and tahini because I'm a little questionable as to if it's going to go through the filter, if it's going to get absorbed by the filter or separated. So my original prediction is just that it'll separate the trash and the oil. Go ahead and wrap up on your prediction. Now let's test our filter. We're going to need another cup. So here's my dirty water, here's my cup, and this is where the filtered water is going to go. Let's see how this works. Got my filter ready, and I'm going to pour. Okay, so I see it caught my trash. Now let's see the side view again. Very successful filter. Looks very clean. Almost good enough to drink. I don't see a single tahini or pepper. I'm actually very impressed. My project caught all the tahini, got all stuck to the trash. It looks like the coffee filter ended up catching more at the bottom, and the net was really able to capture that trash. Now that we've tested, we want to evaluate how our test went. So we're going to go ahead and compare, drawing our two boxes again. I want you to draw what the filtered water looks like and your observations. What do you see and what do you smell? Does the water look pure? Does it look clean? Is there still bits of pepper in it? Does it smell funky? Does it smell normal? What does it smell like? Does it not have a smell? And then I have two questions for you. Did your filter work as you expected it to? Explain why or why not. And list some ideas for ways you might get the polluted water cleaner. So number 2 said list some ideas for ways you might get the polluted water cleaner. So are you going to use different supplies this time around? I'm going to give 2 more minutes. Again, you can bullet point those observations. Did your filter work according to your prediction, as you expected it to? Why or why not? Make sure you explain. And then for number 2, what else can you add? Would you like to try all new materials? Would you like to add another layer to make it better? Would you remove something? You have about 15 seconds. All right, and that is our timer. Lastly, when thinking about the engineering design process, we want to see if we can improve our prototype based on what we experimented in our results. So I have a photo here on the left-hand side that has an alternating layers in the funnel using different materials. So they're using charcoal, sand, small rocks. They add another layer of sand, another layer of small rocks. So maybe I want to add multiple layers. I also have a list of different things you can try out. So maybe it's just using a single item. So maybe just using sand will block out everything. Maybe only using a mesh filter, only using cotton balls, or I can combine all of them. These are all just ideas on how you can improve your design. Thank you for joining us today in making water filters. I hope that you spread the word in protecting our waters. And if you are going to do something outside, like camping or hiking with your family, make sure that you pack in and you pack out. You do not litter, and you leave it better than you found it. Thank you, and until next time.
You've been watching Phoenix TV's Study Hall, brought to you by District 8 and our partners at Osborn and Roosevelt School Districts. Tune in Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for more Study Hall. I hope you learned something today and keep up the great work.